Jai Hind everyone. Myself Rekha Baghel, Assistant Professor, CSE Department, Ajay Kumar Garg, Engineering College. Welcome to the lecture series on complex topics on web designing. In this lecture, we will have discussion on the web standards and W3 recommendations. So, lecture overview. In this lecture, first we will have a introduction part, what is web standards. Then we will discuss about web standard project, a very important project that give the increase to web standards. And next we will discuss importance of web standards. After that, we will have a discussion about key aspects of web standards, and in the last, we will have a look on W3 recommendations. So, this is the lecture view. So, let's start our lecture. We are living in the era of internet. All of us using internet very frequently. Our daily work are mainly dependent on internet. But think about what happened in 90s. We can think internet like this ecosystem. What does it mean by ecosystem? Suppose this is a user, these are the users, and one user act as a content deliverer. Means one user delivers the content to the internet while other user fetch the content from the internet through some interface. So, this whole phenomena is known as a ecosystem. So, we can think of the World Wide Web as an information ecosystem. People create content that is fed into the web, and this content is then passed through some browser to the other user. So, this is the main phenomena, how the content is passed to the internet and how other user fetch the information from the internet. So, in this now we have lots of web standards protocols available, but in 90s what happened? The situation that we see in this era is not same as in 90s. So, what happened at that time? At that time, the websites, suppose these are these blocks are websites and these are the browsers. In 90s, the websites are developed according to the web browser that can be used. So, we can say this whole phenomena just like a toy. Toy means these browsers are some holes and these websites are treated as a blocks. We just have to put or match the blocks to the corresponding hole. So, suppose for example, at that time there are two types of browsers are mostly famous. First one is Netscape. And second one is Internet Explorer. Okay. Internet Explorer is developed by Microsoft. These are the two very popular browsers at that time. So, if a website, suppose this belongs to one means Netscape browser and this block belongs to Internet Explorer, means number 2. Okay. So, these this block belongs to Netscape and this block belongs to Internet Explorer. If any website is developed for if any website developed for based on the Internet Explorer browser, then that website can run only this Internet Explorer browser only. We cannot run this website on Netscape browser. Okay, similarly, if any website is developed according to the Netscape browser, then we cannot run this website on Internet Explorer. So, this is the similar concept as the toy game, means we have to just place the proper block to the corresponding hole. We cannot fit this block to this hole. So, this is the main difficulty of the previous browsers. If a customer, if a developer develop a website, then he cannot run his website on different types of browsers. He must develop, if the customer want to run his website on these two browsers, then the developer must develop the two versions of the website. First version is able to run on Netscape browser, and second version is able to execute on Internet Explorer browser. So, this is the biggest advantage, this is the biggest drawback of previous browsers. Then, before web standards, there were not many fixed rules for any part of this system. No formal rules as how to content will be created, nor any requirements in terms of how a web browser should serve that information to the people that are requesting it. So, this is the biggest drawback of previous browsers. Now, the need of web standards arise. Why? Because all the web browsers are start developing the new applications or adding new features to their browsers. So, it becomes more difficult for the developers to improve the websites in such a way that their website can run properly on the different browsers. So, this is the need of web browsers. After the web standards need arises, then one project, a web standard project, was formed in 1998 as a resistance to the feature face-off happening between the browsers in the 90s. Since suppose in our example, we are taking two browsers, Microsoft developed the Internet Explorer and other one is Netscape. So, these are the two most popular browsers at that time, and both of them were competing each other, and they start adding the new features to their browsers. And what happened after that? Both their growth were start decreasing, and all these means competition between these two browsers create a problem to the developers as well as users. So, this project, web standard project, short form is web standard project is WASP, was formed in 1998 for solving the issues of war between the different browsers, with a primary goal of getting browsers makers to comply with the standard set forth by the W3C, World Wide Web Consortium. We will have a discussion on it, W3C, in the next slides. So, as the organization grew and the browsers were ended, the project began to shift focus. When all the situation is resolved, and then the main focus of web standards project is shifted towards the towards the uniformity, or providing the ease to the developers for developing the website independently without considering any browser. So, group begin working with the browsers makers on improving their standards, support consulting software makers that create tooling for website creation, and educating web designers and developers on the importance of the web standards. So, when the aim of web standard project was complete, the web standard project ceased to be active in 2013. So, from 1998 to 2013, this project start and end in 2013. So, now we have understand what is the need of web standards. So, what is the importance of web standards? It would be difficult to overestimate the importance of the web standard project and the guidelines that they promote. For the internet to realize its full potential, it must be guided by some common principles. Some common principles means if in market there are n number of browsers, we have set means some web standards are set by the web standard project, and these standards provide a set of fundamental and it is hoped universal guidelines by which content for the internet is created and disseminated. The need for these web standards and is clear they address some key aspects of web designing. So, we can think of web standards is a rule book. We can say web standards is the rule book. Rule book means there are some rules mentioned. These rules must be followed by the developers and the different types of browsers. Web standards were introduced to protect the ecosystem. In this ecosystem, there is a user as well as developer and browser to keep it open, free and accessible to all, putting the web in a protective bubble and disbanding with the idea of having to build websites to suit specific browsers. So, this is the importance of web standards. So, key aspects of web standards. Key aspects of web standard means what special advantage of using web standards. What facilities a web standard will provide. First facility is efficient coding compatibility, simplified maintenance, device compatibility, search engine compatibility, allowing for backward compatibility and validation, accessibility, making the web a more accessible place. So, let us discuss all these key aspects one by one. First is efficient code. Efficient code means if web standards brings efficient coding to the web designing. Web designing means if all programmers was limited to HTML, the result will be bloated and ungainly files that require longer than necessary downtimes. So, if all the browsers follow the same standards. So it would be beneficial for the browsers as well as to the user, for the user to download particular page. It will take less time. For a developer, it will have a less code. So this not only affects the user's online experience, but it can actually increase the cost of accessing online content for those users who pay for downloads by the megabyte. Coding compatibility. Coding compatibility, whether it's a web page, an add-on, or a software application, almost every piece of programming passes through the hands of many different designers. We cannot say one designer can design 500 web pages. It is not possible. For designing 500 web pages, there are few numbers of developers involved. So, having an accepted standard of coding ensure that all programmers are speaking the same language and that code remains streamlined and efficient regardless of the author. So, coding compatibility is there. Simplified maintenance. Simplified maintenance means lean and efficient code is easier and less expensive to update and maintain. First, we have a coding compatibility. If there are n numbers of developers are working on some designing a website, then after this there will be some maintenance required after some time. So simplified maintenance is also required. So this web standard support lean and efficient code to update and maintain with style and layout information specified in one place. Updates do not need to be applied to every web page of an active site. So this website provides some key concepts to write the code in efficient manner. In W3 recommendations, we will discuss about the various types of concepts provided by the W3C to support the simplified code writing or for the ease of the developers. So in this, we have a CSS element. CSS elements, HTML, there is web pages are designed by using HTML and with the help of CSS. If we talk about the HTML, the content is created by with the help of HTML, while CSS is used to provide more presentable look, the content. Okay, so if there are 100 number of web pages, and we need to update some concepts, like we need to update the font size, then we just make the changes in our CSS file, and by applying the change in CSS file, all the 100 web pages will change. So it will provide more comfortable or more ease to the developer to apply the changes in their web pages. So we can style our document with the help of this CSS, and content is created by this HTML. So simplified maintenance is the another key concept provided by the key standards. Device compatibility. Device compatibility means we are using, in this era, we are using different types of devices, like internet can be accessed by using our laptops and mobile phones, as well as through the tablets. So device compatibility is required, means all the websites or different types of devices must be supported by the device compatibility. If one website will run properly on a laptop, this website also support to the mobile devices and also to the with the tablet devices. The adherence to web standards ensure that online content can be quickly and efficiently reformatted for different browsers and devices. This is particularly important now that mobile devices and tablet devices have become so popular with online users. Next key aspect is making the web a more accessible place. Making the web a more accessible place means web standards help to standardize the way in which a website can interact with the assistive technologies, meaning that browser makers and web developers can incorporate instructions into their web pages, which can be interpreted by assistive technologies to maintain a common or sometimes better end user experience. Allowing for backward compatibility and validation. So, web standards have created a foundation which allow for new websites that comply with standards to work with older browser versions. So, that means if one website was developed around 10 years back, now new browsers are developed. So, it is not guaranteed that this website also execute on new browsers very better way, new browsers. But we have also ensured that this old website will at least execute on new browsers. We have not expected that these new browsers will execute this website in very efficient or very good manner, but at least the content provided by this website must be shown by the new browsers. So, backward compatibility means this website which which were developed for the old browsers will also executed by the new browsers, as well as in some average way, means at least average way, means at least content should be content or structure of the web document should be displayed. Means we are not expecting that our website will execute in very good manner, but we are expecting that this old website, at least the structure of the web document is displayed by the new browsers, so that user can access the old websites also. So, this idea of backward compatibility is super important for keeping the web accessible. It does not guarantee old browsers will show your content exactly you expect, but it will ensure that structure of the web document is understood and displayed accordingly. Search engine compatibility. Search engine compatibility means all web developers want their online content to be easily searchable by Google and other search engines. It is considered that all the websites or all the browsers that follow the web standards. So, browsers, first is browser. It is considered that all the browsers that follow the web standards, if a website execute on that browser, it is higher chances that the crawler interpret the content and ranking will high. So, in order for any search engine to rank and return relevant content in a user search, it must scan that content with a web crawler. So, if web crawler cannot interpret the content, ranking will be naturally suffer. So, the web standards play a very important role for the increasing the ranking or comes in the top search. By following the approved standards set by the W3C, developers can more easily ensure that content they produce can be quickly and accurately scanned by the search engine bots. So, web standards play a very important role for search engine compatibility. Accessibility. Web standards also addresses the issues of accessibility for visually impaired. Visually impaired users with visual impairments often use screen readers to access content on the web. These readers literally read the web pages loud. Adherence to the accepted web standards governing semantic structure ensure that can easily decipher online content, keeping the web. So, this is the accessibility, open and accessible to the visually impaired. This is one of the few aspects of web standards project that has been codified into the law. So, these are the key aspects of web standards. So, we will now discuss the W3C. What is W3C? W3C stands for World Wide Web Consortium. World Wide Web Consortium. So, this is an international community where member organizations are full-time staff, invited experts and the public work together to develop web standards. Okay. This is a community. So, invited experts and the public work together to develop the web standards. Led by the web inventor and the director Tim Berners-Lee and CEO Jeffrey Jeff, W3's mission is to lead the web to its full potential. So, Tim Berners plays a very important role creating the web standards. So, community was founded in 1994 at MIT in collaboration with CERN. At the time of this post, W3C has 475 members, company and organizations and exists as a consortium between 4 academic institutions: MIT, USA, ERCIM, France, KEIO University, Japan, and Wyoming University, China. Work in W3C happens in working groups and community groups Community groups are where a lot of initial innovations happen around new web technologies. New web standards can be produced by community groups, but they are officially seen as a pre-standards. Community groups are open for anyone to participate, whether or not the organization you work for or are affiliated with is a W3 member. So, W3C recommendations. While Web Standard Project addresses a different issues, the key guidelines originally set forth by the W3C have become the universally accepted core of the Web Standard Rulebook. These forms the foundation on which the continued growth and accessibility of the internet depend, and they can be broken down into the following. These are the recommendations provided by the W3C. First one is markup language. Second one is HTML, hypertext markup language. Next one is HTML5, CSS, cascading style sheets, and last one is JavaScript. Markup languages. So, all the languages like HTML, CSS, XHTML, all these languages comes into the category of markup languages. So, we can define markup languages as systems for adding information to a document that is separated from the text itself. The web standards guidelines govern the use of HTML and subsequent variations. Okay. So, web standard guidelines must be followed by all the markup languages. As a markup language, the HTML variations are used to modify different types of content in an online document. The elements that make up these languages specify how each bit of content should be rendered in the web browsers, like heading, paragraphs, bullet list. While the basic makeup elements define the actual content, the use of the additional attributes serve to provide it more specific information about that content. Next one is HTML, hypertext markup language. So, hypertext markup language is the oldest web coding language, and still we are working on the HTML. As such, it is the most common markup language used by the web developers and still forms a significant part of all online content. The use of HTML is governed by a set of syntax rules, which through fairly efficient and also fairly flex means for creating the HTML document, we have to follow some syntax like any other language. So, following the syntax, we can create the code. So, elements are not case sensitive. Since HTML is a non-case sensitive language, means you are using the uppercase text. In HTML, we are using the text. So, text, if you are using the tag in lowercase or in uppercase, both of them refer to the same meaning. So, this language is case sensitive. Closing tags are not strictly regulated, and shortcuts can be used for certain attributes. While basic HTML was standards for many years, there were developed different versions of HTML like HTML 2.0, HTML 3.0. Now the latest iteration is HTML5. HTML5 is the latest version of basic HTML markup language. There were some new features were introduced in HTML5, and HTML5 introduced new semantic elements and control attribute as well as several application programming interfaces. This is the main difference between the existing HTML5 and the previous HTML versions that support drag and drop features. Previously, this drag and drop features, geolocation, local storage is not available with the previous versions. XHTML stands for Extensible Hypertext Markup Language. XHTML combines the structural attributes of HTML and XML. So, XHTML made of XML and HTML. So, XHTML contains the features of XML as well as HTML. So, XHTML is typically used when online content needs to be reprocessed for compatibility with mobile devices or outlying browser design. Mobile devices. The addition of XML element makes it quicker, easier for content to be reprocessed than standard HTML. So, whenever you have to design the web pages for mobile devices, you can use the XHTML. XHTML also brings strict semantic rules to the language. Elements and attributes in XHTML are case sensitive. All elements must be closed and attribute values must be enclosed by quotes. So, XHTML is case sensitive, all closing tags are required and attribute values must be enclosed by quotes. CSS cascading style sheets provides the mechanism by which changes in the appearance or position of the online content can be assigned to a document's HTML or XHTML elements. The use of CSS defines the overall appearance of a website and allows it to be remodeled quickly and efficiently. In short, the use of CSS allows web developers to more artfully control the formatting and layout of a document. So, styling for a document, to style the document, we can use the CSS. So, this allows web developers to easily change backgrounds, alter fonts and text sizes and reposition content on a web page. While much of this is possible with basic HTML, the use of CSS allows programmers and web developers to produce content that is underpinned by a more streamlined and efficient code. With the help of the CSS, we can minimize the code for altering all these features. Okay. JavaScript, this is the another recommendation. So, JavaScript is an object-oriented scripting language. It is primarily used to add behavior to a web page. By using the HTML and JavaScript, we can create the more interactive web pages. We can collect the data from the user. So, it can be used to validate the data on a form, provide drag and drop functions, enable button functions and animate page elements. JavaScript is instrumental in making web pages more interactive, allowing them to more accurately respond to user events such as mouse click, page navigation, and input searches. So, these are the W3 recommendations. So, by using these recommendations, we can efficiently code or develop the website more efficiently, and web browsers work in a uniform manner. So, one website can execute in the similar manner on different types of browsers. So, all the browsers that we are using today, like Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, and Microsoft Edge, all follow these web standards, and now users have lots of ease to use any one of browsers for their surfing, and all the web browsers uh, provides the same experience. So, thank you.